Welcome to another Acoustic Alternatives from Grove Studios. My name is John Bommarito. Grove Studios has been the home for the podcast since the very beginning. It was their idea, and in fact, to do a podcast once I got let go from my radio job in Ann Arbor. And I'm grateful to them for the opportunity to do it in their lovely home in Ypsilanti here. If you are a band or a solo artist or a podcaster or a DJ, in fact, we have rooms for you here that you can rent 24/7. 3 in the morning, good for you? Sure, why not? You can do that via the keypad, code that they will send to you once you pay for your room. Very inexpensive. I just showed my guest today around. She saw the 2 rooms that would be well designed for her band. She's like, wow, and took pictures. And so
I did take pictures. They're going online. I think this is quite the resource out here. Yeah.
Judy Banker is a new customer of Grove Studios, and Judy Banker is my guest today on Acoustic Alternatives with a new album coming out, Judy, on November 4th. I don't have a physical copy to show people, but I was able to preview it thanks to you and sending me the audio files in advance. Big show at the Arc. Is that the actual release date? The 4th?
Yep, that's the actual release date, and I've got it all lined up, to be on streaming on all the different platforms and all that kind of thing on November 4th. And we'll have physical copies at the Arc as well. So excited about that.
And I don't know if there's a coincidence with the fact that it's the 4th album on the 4th.
Isn't that something? And it's my birthday.
Yes. Is it your 4th birthday?
It is my 4th birthday.
Wow. So you were born on a leap year.
Yeah, but like a really very special leap year. But yeah, there's something about the number 4 here that's going on. I don't know what that is. It just occurred to me, like you said, after the fact. But there was no deliberate lining up of that.
Interesting. Well, I just happened to notice it, so I thought I would point it out.
Yeah.
And, it's going to be good. All right. So it's a birthday party. Will there be a birthday suit? I'm sorry. Are you wearing special birthday clothes?
I don't think I think they have a dress code.
Oh, okay.
About that.
Well, then we shouldn't expect that.
That would be a way to pack the seats, though.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
It's post-Halloween, so maybe people will come in their leftover Halloween costumes.
Yeah. There'll be some sort of celebrating. But it's Dave Roof's. Dave Roof, I recorded the album at his studio, Rooftop Recording, and it's his birthday the day before.
Oh.
The 4th is mine, and so sort of a fun coincidence. So we'll celebrate that somehow or another. And and we have Annie Bacon opening for us, so we're excited about that.
Recent guest on the podcast.
Yeah, she was. That's right.
Recent lunch visit for me as well with Annie, which was nice.
Oh, that's nice.
I had, like I said, a chance to hear the record thanks to you. I was I felt like I was jumping around stylistically. I thought I was in a country record for a minute. Then I was in a Bonnie Raitt record. And then for a minute I was in a Black Keys record. I'm like, no, I don't have to make up your mind. You can be whatever you want. So I think by definition, I think that qualifies as an Americana record because you're
that's
covering,
right.
You're covering all
that's what that's called.
Yeah.
Right. That's what was fun about writing the songs for this album, and just what's happening. I just think for myself as a songwriter and working with the band, we have found kind of a groove in terms of collaborating with, we started it with Buffalo Motel and brought my son Ben Saylor on to help produce it and to kind of, I would say sort of shake things up a little bit. I come from I would say pretty traditional background of folk and just folk music, really. And every time I write a song, or up until now, it's kind of changed now, I think, with this album, but up until, Buffalo Motel, I'd write a song and it would sound like you could sort of hear it around a campfire. Mm-hmm. It would just be, a good songs, all that kind of thing. And Ben, who's grown up listening to me play and sing and stuff, had lots of ideas. And he's like, I really feel like we could do something different here. So I went, okay, let's give it a try. And he would show up. We would have pre-production sessions with the songs, and Ben would come in with different ideas or directions we could go, or encouragement just for people to really think outside the box and play outside the box. And that started to happen with Buffalo Motel, and it was really fun. But I think a lot of us were kind of outside of our comfort zone in a way. Well, not everybody in the band. I mean, some people did it more easily than others. But with this, when we got together for pre-production sessions with Bonafide, that collaboration clicked in right away. And so I'd bring a song in, and then everybody would start kind of messing with it. And it was, I really feel like it came together with this album. And so I feel like each song has a very different personality. And that we weren't trying to go for stylistically to have them be the same. It was very much sort of digging into the song, what sounded the coolest for each one.
Well, there are 11 new songs on the record on Bonafide. I didn't ask before we hit the record button. Do you want to do 3 or 4 today?
I'll do 3.
Well, let's start with one now.
All right. Okay. This
I
song...
just have to pace myself for where to ask you to play a song. So now I know.
Okay. This song is called Taciturn Heart. And it's, I think, number 3 on the album.
Correct. I can verify.
I didn't tell you I can't go on anymore. I didn't tell you I'm deserting the war without looking back, keeping track of who was right and who was wrong. And the truth is, I didn't tell, 'cause I'm not feeling that strong. Oh, I can hear now the words you'll be saying, and I can hum the tune I know that you'll sing. You'll be looking back, keeping track of who was right and who was wrong. And the truth is, I'm too tired to care, and it feels so good to be gone. It's a hard, hard lesson to learn when you love a heart that's grown taciturn. You can't try enough, cry enough to get that cold heart to burn. I memorized the legend of your pain. You recited to me again and again, always looking back, keeping track of who was right and who was wrong. And the truth is, I finally understand. You've been running with your ghosts all along. When the last leaf falls, hits the ground once and for all, there's no looking back, keeping track. There's no right or wrong, and the truth is, that's the way it goes, and the world keeps spinning around. It's a hard, hard lesson to learn when you love a heart that's grown taciturn. You can't try enough, cry enough to get that cold heart to burn. You can't plead enough, bleed enough, hide enough, swallow your pride enough, grow enough, stoop low enough, be good enough, do what you should enough, be true enough, don't come unglued enough, pretend enough, or transcend enough. You can't take enough or break enough to get that cold heart to burn, to get that cold heart to burn, to get that cold heart to burn.
My guest today on Acoustic Alternatives is Judy Banker from her new album Bonafide. That's a track called Taciturn Heart, and an album being released on November 4th with a party and concert at the Ark. A birthday party might include cake, for all we know. Jill Jack always has cake at hers. So.
Who does? Does she have cake?
Jill Jack always has cake at her birthday parties at the Ark.
A really big cake, probably.
It's a pretty big cake.
Wow.
Yeah, something to consider.
I suppose. Probably have a cake. Probably have a cake. If Jill has a cake, I have to have a cake.
Compete with your
exactly.
peers. Why not?
Yeah, right.
So not only are you putting on a new album, you're teaching me new words. What does taciturn mean?
Taciturn means, I think of it as a reluctant heart, one that's holding back, one that's kind of shut off. You know, that's not probably the dictionary definition, but it's something like that. It's where something is just turned away from you.
There seems to be a lot of that on this record. A little, oh, ow, ooh, ow. A lot of that. A little pain going on in the chest.
I think I have been mining relationships since I started songwriting, and I started. When I started out, it was very much simply. I had lost my husband suddenly, and we played music together. We'd been married for many years. Ben was our son. And he died of a heart attack and kind of snapped gone. And as we do in the society, we kind of encourage people to move through things quickly. Leave it behind you. Come on, let's go. And I found that through writing songs, it was just organic. I started writing songs and kind of dealing with it to help myself deal with it and kind of put the feelings into words, because you kind of find that it's hard for other people to be around that pain. And with songwriting, I had a bully pulpit. And so I could just say what I wanted or do what I wanted. So the first album is pretty raw. I've got some kind of little ditties on there, kind of, what are upbeat songs. But there's some just raw, me crying into the microphone, basically, kind of songs. And I had a show at Johnny's Speakeasy to play it, and I could barely even sing. I had to stare at the ceiling while we performed it, but friends showed up. It was a really special night, and I had no thoughts past that about what we, so like, okay, that was done. And then somehow ended up playing different things or playing at places, doing Nash Bash, and it sort of just began happening, and it was really gratifying. I felt like, this is a good outlet for me, because got nothing else. I've got my work, but this is it. So
it's a release of your emotions.
Exactly. So then, the next album came around, Devils Never Cry, and that was in 2016. Without You was in 2014, yeah. And then Devils Never Cry, and then...
Our camera's here, so...
yeah. I see.
The visuals.
Yep. There we go.
Yeah, anyway.
And, the sound just kept evolving, really, and my songwriting kind of kept evolving, and I hadn't even intended to do this one. After Buffalo Motel, I kind of thought, well, just that, I don't know, I didn't know where I would go from there, and this next one just kind of evolved, but it happened organically again. The whole thing has been without a plan, but each song is really, really personal for me, and it's not as if all the songs about pain or whatever are about my long lost husband. It's about, I look for like a little shade of the relationship or a shade of a relationship. I'm hitting the microphone here because I started talking with my hands. But I write about people in my life and about him and emotions. Also, I'm on a talking jag. You're going to have to stop me. I'm a therapist by day, and I deal with emotions. I've been dealing with people's emotions and, helping them heal for decades. And
it's been a rough few years for a lot of
people. And it's been a tough stretch for people. It's been tough for us as therapists and tough for people, and it's continuing to be tough, I think. And and I think that we don't teach. We don't know. I marvel sometimes because I think as human beings, we're so emotionally complex and so affected by our emotions and don't know what to do with our emotions. And I think that causes a lot of havoc in the world and in our relationships. And so I keep hoping that if I can express a particular angle on a relationship or a particular kind of emotion that you might have in one of my songs, and it touches somebody and they get some clarity about their own emotions, or they find some other way to deal with something that might help resolve something. I don't know. That would be the ultimate for me.
Very good. Well, thank you for doing the therapist work, because we need people like you out there that are willing to hear our problems. Been there, done that. Not your end, my end. Let's back up a little further to a younger you. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, on the lake. It's between Green Bay and I'm going to slip into my Wisconsin. Yeah. It's between Green Bay and Milwaukee on the lake, and so I grew up on Lake Michigan, and it's a car ferry ride across to Ludington. Okay. Between Manitowoc and Ludington, the car ferry goes back and forth. That was my connection to Jay Steelstra, who I've played music with, for many years. And Jay grew up in Ludington. And so when I first met Jay, through my husband, John, Jay was like, I'm from Ludington. I went, well, I'm from Manitowoc. And it was like, well, we were soulmates,
Opposite sides of the
You know how that goes.
The lake, but whatever.
Right, exactly. But I grew up in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, which was like 33,000 people, I think, when I was growing up, and went to high school there, Lily White town, sort of Polish Catholic town, and we were known for having a bar and a church on every corner. Oh. It was sort of a great place to grow up in a way, but interestingly for me, you could have different kind of relationships with your parents, but my father, who was sort of maybe a hard person for me in my life, but he loved music, and he had an album collection like anything you ever saw, and a hi-fi stereo, and played it throughout the house, and so we grew up with a lot of music all the time. He had a drum set in the basement. It was red, sparkling, and they'd have parties, and friends would come over, and he'd play the drums, cigarette hanging from his mouth.
What records do you remember the most of his?
He had Isaac Hayes, and he had Herb Alpert, and
everybody had Herb Alpert.
Yeah, everybody did, right? He had every soundtrack to every movie. I remember The Flying Dutchman. And I'm trying to think of what else, but a lot of bossa nova stuff, a lot of jazz, not so much pop music, but jazz and R&B and movie soundtracks.
It doesn't seem to blend with what I know your favorites were growing up, because the little research tells me it was Joan Baez and Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Yeah.
So where did that come in?
So that's actually a good question, because I think also my brother and sister, I had an older brother. Well, I still do have an older brother and an older sister, and just a few years older. But they I'd listen to the music they would put on. My brother would have Jan and Dean and the Beach Boys and that kind of stuff he'd play on his stereo and in his room. And my sister,
you're on a beach instead of a lake.
Yeah, right, exactly. That California dreaming in Wisconsin. And my sister had Jethro Tull and different people. I can't even, a wide range of music. So I listened to all of that and AM radio. And then somehow, that's actually good. I can't quite remember how I tipped into Peter, Paul, and Mary. That was the first album I ever bought, and I don't really know. I can't figure out. I must have heard them on the radio, because they were on the radio if I had a hammer and like that kind of stuff. And so I just thought that was the best. And I had a guitar in 7th grade that my father picked up somewhere and brought home. And so then I got the Joan Baez songbook and sat up in my bedroom and learned every song and dreamed of playing on the stage, and then formed a band with my friends in junior high school or middle school, and we would sing Greenback Dollar and what was that? There's a house in New Orleans, House of the Rising Sun, at a middle school.
Yeah, that's probably didn't know what the song was
no,
about.
No, nobody knew what it was about.
It's a whorehouse, but whatever.
Exactly. So we had our band and played, and that was quite fun. And I kind of just went from there. And then when I met my husband, so but I didn't do anything with it other than that kind of stuff. And then when I met John, my husband, he had a strong background in folk music, and his family had hung out with Pete Seeger and people like that. They were progressives and communists and all that in the Washington, D.C. area. And so I was enthralled. It was all just like, it was so cool. And so then we played. I learned a lot of that music. He had Hazel and Alice and Tom Paxton and John Prine. And that was my exposure to a whole other level for me. So it's just been a lot of different kind of music, and I think more than anything, I think Bonafide kind of brings in some of maybe that variety a little bit of what I was what's sort of in my DNA maybe just all these years.
I'm somewhat surprised because of your interest in Peter, Paul, and Mary that I've never really read or heard about you being part of like a trio where you're doing harmonies with other people on a regular project that would be a side non-solo project. Is that something you've thought about doing?
Well, I feel like I did. We're playing with Jay Steelstra. Played with him starting in 2008. I think we performed. We had to learn all of his songs. John and I played with him. And so I did a lot of harmony with Jay.
Well, that's 2 people. Is there a 3 people thing?
It was my husband was in that trio.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
So we did that.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's all right. I didn't mention it very clearly.
You were Mary then.
Yeah. I was Mary, and Jay wrote all the songs.
Very good. Very good. Well, the new album, which again isn't quite out yet, November 4th is the release date at the Arc. In my opinion, and no offense to the other 3, this is the best of the 4. And I don't know that you feel that strongly about it.
I feel like that. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, there's obvious growth between this album and the last album and the album before that.
Yeah.
The production is a better, it sounds, how do you say that? More ready for a national audience to be heard. It sounds slicker isn't really what I mean, because that would imply commercial.
No, I understand. I know exactly what you're saying. We paid a lot of attention to that to really polish it up. And I don't mean it, like you said, not in a slick way, but just like the arrangements and really making sure the sound was right. And
some things sound like a local album, and some things sound like they have been released everywhere. That's the best thing I can say. Okay. This doesn't sound like a local album. This sounds like it's a national release that is ready for consumption. There.
Well, I can go home now. Thank
Okay,
you,
bye.
John. That was awesome.
Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye. No.
Can I quote you on that, right?
You may, if you like. Now, when I was enjoying it and I had sent you a message prior to setting this up, I said, I already have a favorite lyric on the album, but I want to know what your favorite lyric on the album is.
I don't know.
Too much pressure.
It is too much pressure. Too much pressure because there's like little pieces of the lyrics I like on each of the songs. Tell me what yours was.
Well, it's something that I just felt like a lot of us can relate to who've been in relationships for a long time. If we don't say a word, we won't disagree. Oh, yeah, that's how we solve that. Now, the example I had growing up from my parents was when they fought, they were just silent, which was absolutely not a way to solve a problem. No. But, I did learn that that's not how you solve a problem. But I did hear that and go, Oh, that's how you do it. I remember that.
Because we're not good at communication.
Some people are not.
You
No.
know, right? So you can love somebody and then just not be able to resolve conflicts with them. And it's almost like, can you just be quiet?
Yeah. And the second lyric that I liked was on "You're Not There." I've worn a hole in my head thinking about you, like so much, like you're so much on my mind. It just, yeah, it was very visual for me when I got to that one too. So
Yeah. Thank
Bravo.
you. That's sort of what obviously that's what I was saying earlier. That's what I hope is that people can relate to it without it being sort of banal.
Right. Well, Bonafide is the first track on the record and the title of the record, and I know it's also the one that you're working with a guy I know, Jeff Appleton, who's promoting your
That's
record.
right. That's
and
right.
I see that he's recommending, as I would if I were in his position, recommending that track for radio airplay. Is that one you can do as a solo Judy track
Um,
and
I
do it
can-
justice?
I can.
Are you comfortable doing it? Let's put it that way.
I will. I'm going to try it. I'm just going to say to anybody listening,
It's different on the record.
it's different on the record. Exactly. Do I want to use a pick? I'll use a pick. Standing in the Speedway checkout line, buy a little gas and a bottle of wine. Ought to be enough fuel for Saturday night, sitting alone by candlelight. Gonna numb my mind, drinking that wine, gonna pull the shade till this feeling fades. Kicking myself, trying to hide from you. I know you know I'll always be your fool. If you want to be alone, come be with me. If we don't say a word, we won't disagree. We won't disagree. I start to lose it every time we fall into the same old pantomime. Our usual moves crash and burn, wasting the truth between each word. If you want to be alone, come be with me. If we don't say a word, we won't disagree. We won't disagree. Sometimes I'm blind, sometimes I see, sometimes I just wanna be free. Sometimes you gotta pick a side to keep love bona fide. Yeah, we'll make it, we won't break it. 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 If you wanna be alone, come be with me. If we don't say a word, we won't disagree. We won't disagree. If you wanna be alone, come be with me. If we don't say a word, we won't disagree. We won't disagree. Sometimes I'm blind, sometimes I see, sometimes I just wanna be free. We won't disagree. We won't disagree.
Bonafide is the title track from the new record from Judy Banker, and it's on Acoustic Alternatives, one that she should be more confident about playing because it's just fine that way. It's beautiful. It works perfect. Don't worry about it.
We had so many layers and voices on it.
I know, but have some confidence that works too. From my perspective, it works. The Grove Studios in Ypsilanti is where we're doing this podcast from. I've talked about them, every podcast, because this has been the home for almost all of them. Even when I'm not here, I talk about them. They are a great operation that musicians, DJs, and podcasters can use 24/7. It's just as simple as booking your time, your 1 or 2 hour slot, 3 hours, whatever you need. Somebody's coming in for 4 hours right after we're here. And take your time, do what you need to do. Don't worry about your neighbors making as much noise as you want. There's train tracks behind us, and it's a warehousey kind of district. No one's going to say, you're too loud. So get out of the garage and get into the studio here at Grove Studios.
It's a beautiful studio. I can vouch for that.
It is.
It would be a great place to record.
And if you enjoy what I do, Acoustic Alternatives has been an independent project of mine for a little over 3 years. When I lost my radio job, first as a furloughed member of a radio station, I immediately started doing a playlist, which had a sponsor for a year or so. And then I lost that sponsor. I had a sponsor for some of the podcasts I've done. Of the 66 so far, there have been 12 sponsored by other people, a realtor and a venue. But I've been trying to do it without any income coming in. And you can support me on Patreon instead of finding me a sponsor. If you'd like, go to johnbommarito.com, click on the Acoustic Alternatives tab, and for the cost of a cup of coffee a month, I will send you some links to some exclusive things that no one else can see or hear. It's mostly about hearing than seeing. For instance, do you remember, did you have Kmart's near you where you grew up, Kmart stores?
Oh, yeah.
So do you remember like the little blue Kmart cassette tapes?
Right.
Yeah, so like you, I had probably a little cassette recorder. I would record things. Do you remember the Dickie Goodman records where he would interview like Mr. Jaws or Santa and the Satellite?
Sure.
The songs were the answers to the questions? I did some of those as a kid, like as a
Whoa.
junior high school student. So I've posted 2 of those as things you can hear, like a super young, like 12-year-old me using my record collection to answer songs with Ron LaFleur, formerly of the Detroit Tigers. And I went to the Detroit Tigers training camp as well with this interview. So if you want to hear those, you have to become a patron on Patreon. So
We should trade seats, and I should interview you.
No. It's not
That's
about
pretty
me.
cool. Oh no, that's very cool.
So there you go. Patreon is where you'll find me there, and $3, $5, $10, whatever you want to do, throw it my way. I'd appreciate
Support
it.
this guy. Yeah.
Thank you. And Judy has been a support already. She always reposts my playlists, my podcasts. So I want to thank you because I need that. I need a little bit more.
We all,
people.
yeah.
So.
Happy to do it because that's how I really believe in a supportive community. That seems like, why wouldn't we do that for each other?
Right. And I guessed correctly on my last podcast I recorded at Jeff Daniels' house and the barn that Ben runs that I would go over 5,000 listens with that one, and I did. So I was right. So
nice.
In the last 3 years, I've had 5,000 people listen to the audio versions. I haven't added up the video, so I can do that another time. But anyway, people are paying attention, and I appreciate it. So back to you now. More about you. So this record we mentioned, Dave Roof recorded it for
Yes.
you at Rooftop, and is the band that recorded the record also going to be on stage with you?
Yes, everybody. We had a swap in a new drummer, Brian Williams, who was part of the whole recording process and pre-production process. Had to bow out of the project for time constraints and things like that. And we have Jim Latini from the Flying Latini Brothers, who's joined our band, which
Very
is.
nice.
We had a rehearsal last night. That's about maybe we've played with Jim maybe 3 or 4 times already. And so Jim will be there, but the rest of the band, we have John Sperendi, Dave Roof, Alan Pagliari, Tony Pace. And
I'm wearing his brother-in-law's shirt right now, Tony's brother-in-law.
there you are. Yeah,
Adams.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
They live next door to each other.
Yeah, that's right. I know. They got the family compound.
They do.
Yeah, they'll all be there, and we're as well as Wooly Nelson, who is our band.
Wooly, not Willie.
Did I say it stupidly? Wooly, because he's a buffalo. He's our mascot.
He came along on the Buffalo Motel album.
That's right. So we'll be dragging him along.
I guess since that is the thing I have in my hand, there was a question I had about reading an old interview and a bit about Buffalo Trace stepping up for the CD release. How did that happen? What?
That's right. What?
Do they know who you are? I mean, that seemed really like...
It was random as anything. I mean, this was just me. There were a lot of those kind of synchronicity kind of things with that album, but this one too, actually. But I love those things in life. I saw Buffalo. Oh, I don't even know. I saw Buffalo Trace and online, and thought, oh, how cool would that be? I loved their logo. They've got the buffalo, and it goes with Buffalo Motel. And I thought, oh, what the hell? I'll email them, and I emailed the I didn't even know what do you call it? The boss,
proprietor,
whoever owns that distillery. Emailed him because that was where their contact was, and I just said, I've got this CD coming out. It's called Buffalo Motel. Would you be interested in doing some sort of something? Maybe some I don't know, whatever, some bourbon, some tie-in. And he responded right away and went, well, I'm kind of the executive director of this place or whatever. I'm the CEO, but here's somebody, I forgot her name, Margaret or Maggie or something like that, and she'll take care of you. And she emailed me back. She would, all right, let's take care of you. This sounds great. How would you like an 18-inch tall brass buffalo statue?
Just have one lying around.
Yes, please. I said, what? Okay, sure. How about some T-shirts? Sure. Do you want some? We've got some other merch. We've got a big bottle, like a bar. They just loaded me up.
Like you were a bar.
Like I was a bar, and then a few days later, I get a knock at the door. I couldn't imagine the statue. I didn't know. I was thinking I had a tabletop.
Yeah.
She must have had the inches wrong. Anyway, a guy's at the door and he goes, I've got a flatbed truck here and I've got some pallets I got to deliver. And I'm like, is this the statue? And he's like hauling this big thing. It's like this big.
Oh my goodness.
It's like a dog, like a big golden retriever. And he sat in my living room for the longest time. Now he's in the basement. Now he's going to come to the Ark with us again. I mean, he's in the basement's a nice basement, whatever.
Yeah.
But I can't say enough about how generous they were.
That's
and
crazy.
Just for no reason.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. It was great. And the Ark was so cool. They loaded in Buffalo Trace bourbon for the night. And
neat.
We just did the whole tie-in.
Well, I don't think we have a Bonafide tie-in that we can come up with, but
no,
I wish there was something that we could do for that. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I kind of looked and there wasn't anything obvious, so that was too bad.
Well, we talked briefly about the difficult few years that all of us went through. How did you handle songwriting during the pandemic? Did it shut you down? Some people were shut down and didn't do anything.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I could not fathom how people were writing. I mean, I know people were writing songs, some people a lot, and I was in such a state of, there were so many levels of discombobulation around that time. Our business, we had to transfer our business because we're all therapists. I have a group that I lead sort of, and we had to move our practice to Zoom, and we were just all the therapists in town were just everybody was booked. We didn't know where to refer people. It was just such a stressful, weird time, and was it the end of the world? I didn't know what it was. Yeah. So I wasn't writing except for in the summer of must have been right after. I wrote. I took part in an art project that I found out from a friend of mine who's a graphic artist. And it was called the Telephone Community Project. And it was a global project where artists of different genres took part. And the idea was that it was like the children's game of telephone, where we each would get receive a work of art from someone in the project, but we wouldn't understand. There would be no explanation for it, and we would have to interpret it within our own medium. So. And none of us knew what the message was. None of us did. And over 700, I think it was close. I'm going to get the numbers wrong, but easily like 90 countries were involved, 700 people. It was quite a lot. And in the end, I got a video. We each had 2 weeks to complete our project. So I got a video from a woman in California that showed pictures. It was sort of a beautiful but short video of scenes outside of an apartment building, and there weren't any people. It was like birds and trees and that kind of thing. And then I wrote a song based on that. I can play that one. That's going to be on the album, or it is on the album. And so then I sent my song in, and my song went to some other artist who then, turns out we found this all out when they posted they posted the whole map of how this all worked out, including every single work of art on you can find it at phonebookgallery.com. And it's incredible. It's an incredible map, so well done. And anyway, my song landed with somebody else who was a graphic artist, and she sort of drew this kind of cartoon that went with the song. And I saw it when they did the launch, and I cried because it was like, how did she just sort of, she got it with her. It was like this very weird that we all sort of were in sync with each other. It was a very cool experiment. They're doing a whole nother version of it again, but this time with academics are involved. So that'll be a different kind of a thing. This was very grassroots.
Did you get her permission to use that drawing for anything?
She said I could do something with it, and I haven't yet. I need to.
Easy solution is that when you post the record online, and for like your Judy Banker topic page on YouTube, which usually would just have the static art, maybe you can insert her picture instead.
Right. I could just do that. I need to do that.
Just be a static picture, but that picture. That's my suggestion.
Yeah. Well, that would be a good idea.
That'd be helpful.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, you have a multiple lifestyle here, with music being the thing we're talking about today. We've briefly mentioned that you're a therapist and you're helping people that way. You've also founded a center for eating disorders.
Yes.
When did that start? And what was your impetus for that?
Let's see. I started it in 1983. I founded it. It was a long time ago, and it was with the encouragement of a psychiatrist who owned a clinic I was working in at that time. My first job out of grad school, when I went to grad school in Pittsburgh at Duquesne University, and then moved back to Ann Arbor and for another life that I had previous, whatever. And my first job was with a behavior modification weight loss program on campus at the University of Michigan. And so I had to learn about behavior mod and blah, blah, blah. And students started coming in and talking about starving themselves or different kinds of eating issues. And then there were conferences, the first conferences started in the field of eating disorders, and I went to them. And so I gradually just began specializing in that area. It was just sort of something that was so intriguing to me and interesting. And then I worked in the psychiatric clinic, and the psychiatrist sort of he was just a really supportive guy, and so he helped me get a nonprofit set up there. And then eventually my managed care came in, which was just a nightmare for therapists. So I bounced out of managed care and just moved the center and into downtown Ann Arbor, and we've been there ever since. So the pandemic, and now we're home, but we still have a footprint downtown. There's a place called the New Center in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, I know where that is.
So it's a collaborative of nonprofits, and they help nonprofits. And there's a lot of them who are located in the New Center. You can be an affiliate, which is what we are, and we can use the space. And
it's a shared office
space.
It's
a footprint. Yeah, exactly. It's sort of something so we're still sort of part of the downtown area. And so we've been going strong since then.
That's cool. Thanks for doing that as well. You're doing lots of good things for people, helping people in lots of different ways.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. We try. We have a great group of clinicians working with us, and we keep trying.
I mean, no matter what, when your legacy left behind will be that you helped people, right? I mean, that's going to be part of what people say about you when you're gone.
Yeah,
and that's a good thing.
Knock on wood.
So, well, we're all going to
knock on fiberglass, whatever this is.
What is it? Yeah, I don't know what this is. It's something weird. So when you're writing songs, do you have to write about your life, or do you? Not that you would ever name your patients, but do you ever incorporate your patients' lives into them?
I am sure that I do. I can't think of a song in particular that was. I'm sure that I do. I can't fathom that I wouldn't, because I think sort of the emotions that I might struggle with are the same ones that they struggle with, and so that even if I pick a struggle of my own, their stories are going to be informing how I write about it, or even the words some of them use. I can't think of one particular, but Yeah. I think. Yeah,
I think it's worked in somehow.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't think of an example, and I probably wouldn't want to even say it. But
Yeah.
but it's that work, that struggle with emotions, and the emotions that we all find problematic come up in my songs.
If I were searching for a psychiatrist, is there like a specialty that you come up in? If I'm like, I have trouble with this, is there like, if people are looking for one, is there?
Sure. If you're looking for, if you have, like the specific, if you have anorexia or bulimia or binge eating disorder or anything related, body image issues,
That's how people find you.
That's how they find us. Yeah.
You in particular.
In particular, and eating disorders. Yeah.
Cool. I was reading. I mentioned that your son produced the new record too. Since there at this point no artwork for me to read,
No.
I can't pick up flip it over and look at
the devil.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, Ben produced this one too, and he, what you're referring to is like "Devils Never Cry" was drawn from something Ben said when he was like 4 years old. He used to like to draw devils. He's a good artist, and he would draw devils of all types. And apparently he was a devil expert, because one day he just looked up at me while he was drawing, and he went, "Mommy, devils never ever cry, even when you sing happy songs." And I'm like, okay. And I went, that's, the use of paradox, devils, like this is, I wrote that down. I did. And then, in 2016, he's at 30 years old or whatever he was at that point. I thought, I'll write a song about that. And I did. And we have the album called Devils Never Cry. And Ben's picture, one of his drawings is in it.
Is he a producer is that like his day job? Does he produce? No, he just does it for fun.
You know what? That's not fair, because he's one of these people that you can't pigeonhole. You probably
like
know about that, or maybe
you've got a few things going on.
Yeah, but he does. I was just thinking a friend of his recorded an album of her own writing in her car, in parking lots, on her like phone and on a laptop and like whatever, that kind of thing, where it's like she didn't have a studio, nothing.
Yeah.
And Ben has taught himself how to he mixed and mastered her recordings, and it's just great. So yeah, it's been a treat watching that, and he's a wonderful inspiration for me.
Nice.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
I know over your career you've done some national touring, playing outside of Michigan. I know lots of your gigs are here because this is where you work.
Yeah, this is where
your day job. But how do you find time for tours with your day job, and do you have one planned for the new record?
I don't have one planned for the new record. I kind of, talk about an effect of the pandemic.
Yeah.
It's like I kind of grounded myself. The charm of flying doesn't, I don't know, but as all things that I do, I just stumble through everything. So I figure something was going to come from this album somehow, and I'll get some stuff set up, but I don't have anything formal planned. Yeah.
You just like take 2 weeks off and go drive out to Idaho or whatever.
Right, exactly.
That's been your previous experience with touring. Just I got time off anyway. I'll just use it for tour. Not really time off, but it's sort of a vacation.
It is. Oh no. My dream would be to get in the car and just drive out west and play at little bars along the way. People do that all the time. I know.
Sure.
But, it'd be so fun.
Some people have to have their day jobs to pay the bills, though.
That's right. I'm one of them.
And if you live in Ann Arbor, you definitely
got to pay the bills.
Right. It's kind of expensive. When you're playing shows, I know sometimes you do solo shows. Do you prefer solo, band, trio, duo? What is your ideal, most comfortable configuration?
Most comfortable is the trio or the band.
Okay.
And I think it's sort of, I can blend. I can blend more easily. But I love songwriter and the round things too. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's what I love about music so much, is that there's always a way. So if the band's not available, we can't do a band show, or if the trio's not available or something, I can do something solo. And there's something really cool about each one of those kinds of things. But playing with the band or playing with the trio is just with somebody else who's playing off of you and we're singing harmonies. It's like, that's heaven to me.
So musician, psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever, same thing almost, right? Close enough for people who can't remember the difference between
Yeah,
the two.
it starts with a P.
Yeah. Founder of a nonprofit for eating disorders. Oh, and by the way, a photographer who's excellent. If you go to her website, judybanker.com, there's a tab for your photography, and there's some, wow, amazing work on there.
Thank you. Yeah. That's a pandemic gift.
Yeah.
It is.
Is that
yeah.
when you started doing that?
Yep, that's exactly. Yeah. I didn't know how beautiful it was. You know, that around us. You know what I'm saying. Michigan's beautiful. But I would, during especially the whole, my clients call it the deep COVID, you know, where we were all locked down,
yeah.
you know, right? I would go out and walk around lakes and drive out west of town, which is within 10 minutes you're in the country. It's just the country. It's farmland and dirt roads and meandering paths and things like that. And I'd drive out there and I would see just these incredible scenes. And I just started taking pictures with my iPhone, and they would turn out, and I'd come home and mess with them. And I swear to God, 3 years straight of that. That was how I occupied my time. I couldn't believe it. I was in heaven. It's just me and I can't. I get so excited.
Yeah.
I can't. Even now, I always check the sky at night and go, oh, I don't know if is the light going to be right? Nah, and then I just go watch TV or something.
Well, we're a couple of weeks away from the CD release show at the Arc, and I gave this suggestion to actually 2 previous guests, and I'm going to give it to you as well. PuzzleU.com. Take a couple of your best pictures, turn them into puzzles, and they'll turn them around like that. Because I've done this for my current job. You can have them real quickly and make a puzzle that you can sell as merch of your artwork.
Oh.
PuzzleU.com. Do it.
I will check.
You don't have to, but it's an extra merch item. I know that musicians aren't making a lot of money from their sales of records and streams, and ticket sales aren't that great either. If you need a merch item that's really cool and unique, I think it's a pretty cool item. It would have been better.
A really good idea.
During the pandemic, when we were locked in, it was more of a thing, but winter is coming, so
winter
you're going to be stuck
coming.
inside. So,
little gift.
Find a couple of your favorite photos that you think would make really nice puzzles, have them printed, and then sell them at the show for a profit.
I could do that. I am selling some prints at the show. I have a collection of maybe 10 or 12. I have to narrow it down. But my goal was everything has to mean something to me, and I love those areas out there, and the pictures. I call it my Dancer Road series because that's the Jerusalem Road, Dancer Road area is where I take a lot of the pictures. And the Michigan League of Conservation Boaters does a lot of work in Michigan to preserve air, water, and our land. And so I'm going to sell some of my prints. I've learned how to mat them, and I'll sell some of my prints and give some of the proceeds to the Michigan League of Conservation Boaters and keep that area pure out there, you know. Sounds like a cricket's in here.
I was wondering if that was your phone. It's not. Anyway,
No.
There's a cricket in here.
There is a cricket.
Does it go with the next song you're playing? Because it's time for a song.
Okay, I'll sing that song that I did with the telephone community thing.
Okay, what's the title of that one?
After It Ends.
Crickets are coming.
And the cricket, that sort of it suits it.
It's an outdoor campfire song with crickets. We just need an actual campfire. Judy Banker is my guest today on Acoustic Alternatives. New album November 4th through her website, judybanker.com. Will it be available on CD or any other media, or just digitally?
It'll be available in CD and in CD form, and it'll be on all streaming platforms.
Very good.
So. Outside my window, I heard some talking to people on the sidewalk below. The chair's squeaking, sorry. He said, "What were you thinking?" She said, I wasn't thinking, he said, I don't think I love you anymore. He took off walking. She sat down crying on the stone step by the door. Probably wondering why, probably wanting to die. I've been there a time or two, wondering what to do to pick up the pieces of a life all in pieces. A bird on a branch woke from his rest to sing her his sweet melody. The breeze stirred the leaves and whispered harmony. She lifted her chin from her chest. I picked a rose from the vine that grows up the side of the wall by my windowsill. It slipped from my hand, sailed down to land at her feet, and she looked up at me, and I said, I've been there a time or two, wondering what to do to pick up the pieces of a life all in pieces. And we smiled at each other, 'cause we're both survivors of these days in a world that has come to an end. Underneath a tree where a sweet bird sings and the breeze blows harmony, and roses fall at your feet.
The campfire version of After It Ends, because it's complete with crickets. Judy Banker's my guest today on Acoustic Alternatives, and Judy's got a new record coming, as we've mentioned, November 4th, called Bonafide Party and CD release show at the Ark with Annie Bacon opening the show.
Annie Bacon, she's fantastic.
She is.
So excited.
A couple more questions before we wrap this up. Not many can brag this, but you've essentially written a song with Pete Seeger in your lifetime. Tell me about that.
I did. That's another one of those stumbling.
How did that happen?
Yeah, that happened. At the Ark, there were, before the pandemic, there were annual Pete Seeger birthday benefit concerts, and which I'm going to take charge of that this year, get that going again in May. That's going to happen.
Cool.
So, but the last one, there'd be a bunch of artists, and everybody would sing a song of Pete's or a song that Pete might have sung, that kind of thing. And I wanted to do something with Blessed Be the Nation, which is a poem Pete wrote with Jim Musselman in 1964. Studs Terkel recorded it on Where Have All the Flowers Gone, I think, an album that Pete recorded. And it was a recitation. And I had heard that years ago and was a really powerful piece. And I thought, well, let me put that to music. So I set it to music, and I played that at the Arc, and there was like a little ooh part where you sing along, and it went over really well. It was great, and I thought, oh, great, done. I did play it with Billy King and Emily Slomovitz, and it was nice. And then I was in the hall afterward, and a woman came up to me and she said, "You need to record that song, and you need to have it on YouTube so people can download it, so you can get out there. And I know that you need the family's permission to do that, but I know the family, so let me put you in touch with Tinia Seeger, Pete's daughter."
Gee, okay.
And I went,
Oh,
"Okay,
twist my
yes,
arm.
ma'am, I'll do that for sure." And sure enough, she put me in touch with Tinia Seeger, and Tinia, I'm nobody. I'm not even like, like a Chris Buhalis type who's like known for being a troubadour,
Played Woody Fest. He's played
Woody
Texas,
Fest, all
whatever.
that kind of stuff, that kind of thing. I'm thinking, what? And so Tinia, well, rightfully so, was cautious, and I recorded it at Dave Roof's. I recorded a rough recording of it and sent it to her, and she was like, okay, let me check with the family. Let me do this, do that. Can you change this? Can you change that about it? Sure, whatever. And I did. It was anything substantial. Recorded it again and sent her the final thing, and she got the permission from the family estate, and she said, "Yeah, you have exclusive rights, and that's it. But I said, this is a free download. This is not me making money off your dad. Nothing. And that's that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a good story.
Yeah.
It's a resume builder too. Put it on the bio.
I wrote a
Has
song
written
with Pete Seeger. Yep.
Finally, coming up, at least in theaters here in Michigan, and previously on stage,
God, yes.
the North Country Opera 40 year. Tell me about your involvement with that as well.
I was the music director of North Country Opera, the 40th anniversary tour.
Were you there for the first one?
I
original,
saw the first one.
Okay.
I saw it. I wasn't involved in it, and I know the people that played in it and all through the years, and of course Jay. I really am close to Jay, and somebody had Dan McCarthy, one of the producers, had the idea we should reincarnate the North Country Opera, and it just sounded like so much work. And I'm like, oh no, Dan, we shouldn't do that. But he kept persisting, and next thing we know, we've got Brad Phillips playing the lead, Michael the lead, and Rochelle Clark playing Sari, and the cast. A lot of the cast came back. Jay's son played in it. He played one of the main characters, and we were rehearsing it here in Ypsi at the Riverside Arts Center, and we had a tour up north, and I don't know, 5 or 6 different performances, something like that, and really sold out most places, which we never expect. It was just, people just loved it. It was just great. And my job was to, I composed an overture, or I compiled an overture, whatever. Jay wrote the songs, but I put them together, brought a band together. We had Grant Flick and Charlie Reichel and Dave Roof and me, in the band. And I had just at every rehearsal with my guitar. There was one day 7 hours playing my guitar while people sang their songs for the production.
Theater life, wow.
And that was, I was talking to Rochelle the other day. We were at the Arc together for another thing, and just it was a lot of work, but we have such fond memories of it. So it's coming to the Michigan Theater in a DVD form. It's going to be on the big screen. We've got a really good recording of it.
Do you know the date?
Huh?
Do you remember the date?
Oh, yeah. It's November 13th, Monday.
Okay.
November 13th at the Michigan Theater, and you get tickets at the door, or you could just go to michigantheater.com and get tickets.
Mishtheater.org, actually.
Oh,
Mishtheater.org.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can't remember if it's R-E or E-R, though, for theater.
I always think I think it's R-E.
I think it is R-E.
I think.
Well, Judy, thank you for sharing your stories and your songs with me and visiting with me and giving me a chance to hear Bonafide before most people.
Yeah,
I'm sure a few people heard it
first.
too.
Yeah.
One of the first. And I wish you good luck at the CD release show, your birthday party, where there will not be a birthday suit involved. And then thearc.org for information about tickets, judybanker.com. You got your own name.com. That's easy. That's great.
I know. That was score, right?
I know. And for more information about that, please look there. And if you want to support me, as I mentioned, johnbommarito.com, Acoustic Alternatives tab, bottom of that page says Patreon. Click on that. Grove Studios. Thanks to them for being a great host of the podcast. Grove Studios has a spot for you. If you're a musician, podcaster, DJ, you want to be loud, you don't want to disturb your neighbors, please come on by, check them out. They've been so good to me, and you find the videos that I put together of these first on their channel before they even come to my channel. So they're the host for that. So good luck to you on the new record, Judy.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Future guests include Adam Bommarito, whose shirt's on, where we're going to
Adam.
talk about his new EP, which is coming out December 1st. That'll be in November sometime. There might be another one in between there if she has time for me while she's in town. A previous guest who has changed her name, and I will leave it at that. So thanks for listening.